of all the business processes you've got, all the different things that are being done within your company, there's one process that you need to master, or maybe you don't need to. If you master it, it will make all the difference in your success with utilizing artificial intelligence and all of the other cool digital tools and technologies that are being released and will continue to be released over the next several years. This is part 3 of why your AI utilization will ultimately fail. I'm Wolf. This is Wolf's Watch. Thanks for being part of the conversation. Let me be brutally honest with you. Statistically speaking, your implementation of artificial intelligence in your business processes is going to fail. There's a key process that will make a huge difference. Still no guarantee, but it'll make a massive difference in your likelihood of success. And here's what it is. Let me tell you a story first. Let me relate something to you that I experienced earlier in my career. I was working for a manufacturing company, and we were implementing what at the time was a very state-of-the-art system for managing production. What it did is it allowed us to connect production into ordering, into inventory, into planning. And that it may seem like something that's natural. It's like, oh, doesn't everybody do that? Here's a note. You'd be surprised how many don't still to this day. But at that time, it was pretty advanced stuff. A lot of companies weren't doing it, and it was so expensive that many companies just couldn't afford to. So we implemented the program. 6 months later, still fighting to get information into the system. Orders weren't being placed when they needed to be. We're having problems with people we do status review meetings and our dashboards weren't up to date, were incomplete. We're having all kinds of problems with it. The reason being, SneakerNet was defeating the new CompanyNet. And here's why. First, people didn't understand how to use it. They didn't have much training. They had a little bit of training. When they had questions, there was really no way to get an answer. Advanced training, not available. It was extremely expensive. They put so much money into the software system, the computers that were needed, the terminals that were needed, right? Massive software and hardware expense. Training, it's something we could only afford a little bit of, according to those holding the strings on the budget or that were writing the checks. So what did people do when they didn't know what to do or couldn't figure out how to do it? Now, bear in mind, this is a manufacturing company, right? Things are moving at a certain pace. And if they don't, the product doesn't come off the end of the production line to be delivered as contracted to the customer, right? Creates a problem. Synchronization is huge. Stop the production line, you got a problem. If you get held up for paperwork, oh man, are you going to have some splaining to do? Well, so people found workarounds. They had to keep, their jobs relied on, they're continuing to have their jobs dependent on their ability to keep things on schedule. So what happened when schedule meant I'm not sure how to get the system to do the thing I needed to do? SneakerNet took over. You write it down on a piece of paper, put your sneakers on, walk down to the other end of the manufacturing facility, hand the piece of paper to the person that needed that information. It might be getting tooling that was needed for assembly. It might be getting parts that were needed. It might be giving an authorization for something to be released or delivered or ordered because we're running out or have already run out. And now we have a manufacturing line stoppage. They just didn't get the system implemented completely. And the little bit that they did get implemented didn't stick because people went back to doing what they were doing before because they needed to in order to get their jobs done. They're going to get fired if they stop the production line. So guess what happens to the computer system? Millions of dollars spent, didn't deliver on what was expected. The business benefit never happened. Why? They hadn't mastered how to implement new technology into their business processes. Now, part 2 of this conversation about why your AI will ultimately fail, why your use of AI will ultimately fail, was about you got to have a process in the first place. So that's a different challenge, different conversation. We're going to set that aside because we had that in part 2. This conversation is about how is about the key skill, the key process for making sure that your use of AI or any other new technology, and technology comes in a lot of different forms, that can be management thinking, strategy, right? Neurolinguistic programming, which is about communication and influence, is considered to be a technology. So this is a very broad application. This is a process that has broad application in your business and in your life, will serve you well. And here it is. It's the process of implementing changes into your business processes. And that means having them stick and getting the outcome that you intended when you started to make the change. Now, since 1993, it's been pretty reliably, research is pretty reliably reported that 70% of programs to implement new changes, efforts to implement changes like that in companies fail at American companies. So are you in the 70% or are you in the 30%? Because guess what? If you're in that 70%, it's very unlikely that your artificial intelligence use is going to succeed over the long term. You'll get some quick wins early on. It'll look good. It'll never really become part of the process. It'll always be this thing over here on the side. And you want it to be part of the process. You want it to help your people be more productive, to do their jobs easier, to be more brilliant at what they're already brilliant at. The reason that you hire them, the reason you have them in the roles that they're in within your company. So you master this process of how to implement changes, which means have them stick and get the result that you intended. It's a high bar because vast majority of efforts don't. And done right, you can even fail and still win. That's a part 5 topic. Part 4 is about what needs to happen in this process. But today, part 3, wanted to share with you what it is that you need to master in order to be successful at implementing these new AI tools, because it's a change, it's process change, business process change. It's a technology change, which allows changing your business processes. And unless you want it to be something that people are fiddling around with here on the side that occasionally get a good result and bring it into your company, you can't repeat it, right? If it's a process, you can repeat it. If it's not a process, sometimes you're going to get a benefit. Most of the time, it's just going to be people spending time over here, either on their own time or doing something, playing with that. Not playing, that's not fair, but working with that when they should have been doing something else in order to get things done on your process, in your current processes. So it's up to you. Do like most people don't. Don't worry about it. Forget about the change process thing. It's just a bunch of, it's a bunch of hooey. It's not tangible, right? It's just thought stuff. And don't do it, because I'm going to be working with your competitors and they're going to do it and they're going to just kick your ass in the marketplace. So that's my challenge to you. Master that process. You have to, as business leader, you have to do that. That's one of your key roles as a business leader. I'll just leave it right there. Thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. Appreciate you being part of the conversation. I'm Wolf. I will see you on the AI implementation trail.